Hello, everybody who's following Vlada's place, and I want to thank you for all the questions that you've been sending my way in regard to taking care of vines. You have already seen a couple of videos we did on a spring and summer pruning, but a lot of you have asked me about how to fertilize vines, how to take care of them in the winter or fall, and so on. And since I am not qualified to give you a professional advice, I decided to invite my neighbor, Dr. J. Ferns, to explain some of this whole concept on wine, taking care of vines professionally, because he has one of the prettiest vineyards in our neighborhood. So I'm with Dr. J today, and we're going to talk specifically about how to take care of vines during the fall and winter time.
We are standing here on a beautiful late November day. The sun is right here. Lesson number one, you got to know what the temperature is in your vineyard. Right now it's 78 in the vineyard, so beautiful day. So just to give you an overview, we're going to talk real quickly on soils. We're going to talk about water. We're going to talk about the root system in the winter months and in the fall months. We're going to talk about pruning, which is very, very crucial to your next year's crop. And we're also going to talk about winter and fall critters. We'll show examples of some of that stuff. Okay?
One of the things that I'm most interested in is people who are growing vines like myself, like a first-time vineyard owners. It's once the fall sets in, you're wondering, is there something that I should be doing during the winter or fall time? And oh, by the way, a lot of you don't live in this kind of weather. You know, this is California weather. We are still enjoying temperatures in 70s through November and almost to December. So the care for vines will be slightly different. And what we will share today will be pretty much for the vines growing in this region. So
we are in Temecula, which is Southern California. And our current elevation as we stand here is a little over 1,700 feet. The first thing we're going to talk about really is, although when people think of a vineyard, they think of the lush green, the grapes, the canopy that goes over the top. But in the winter, all that falls off and it quote unquote goes dormant, but not underground in our area. The root system is still active in most cases, and that root system needs a little love and care and some essential nutrients. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first thing is, if you were to take a look at the trunk of the vine, which is right here, there's a root ball underneath it. And although all the leaves are changing and they're falling, this part is going to go dormant, but this part is still going to be active. Okay? So we're still going to water these vines. Typically during the growing season, they're going to take about 11.5 gallons per day per vine. But right now we're going to put it around 4. And we're just going to keep an eye on it.
what about the 1/3, almost the 1/3 of the water?
Right.
Okay, very good.
Right. And so speaking of water, then most vineyards, if you're putting one in, or if you have one in and you don't have an aerometer, this tells you the soil moisture. Very important. It's called an aerometer. Okay, we have a couple.
Is this expensive to purchase?
No,
And you can easily get them online?
Right.
Okay, very
Pretty
good.
easy to dig a hole and put them in, too.
And so since you're talking about that, what would be the ideal moisture throughout the season? Let's say we're in a high season.
Okay, so soils are all different in different regions of Southern California and, of course, Napa, Sonoma, and all those areas. So you have to find out what your soil is, which brings up the next question. If you haven't done a soil analysis on your vineyard or before you plant your vineyard, then you don't know what type of soil it is and you don't know if the nutrients are lacking in there. So first thing, soil analysis.
A lot of people will ask me, where do you do analysis? Do you send it to
We do it locally
somewhere?
here in one of your local agriculture places.
Agricultural places.
And we have them here in Temecula because we're a wine-growing region.
Okay, excellent.
Let's take a quick look at this, Marco. Can you look at this? So what's really neat about, let's see, get the sun on that. What's really neat about this time of year is we've got reds and greens and yellows and browns. This is a leaf right here that is actually going to die and fall off. I pulled it off. But if I saw this in the growing season, the veins that are here, if they were green, but the rest of it was yellow, that would be an iron deficiency. If the whole leaf was yellow, including the veins, that would be a potassium deficiency. That's why you have to do a soil analysis.
Very
Okay?
good. Okay.
Makes sense?
Okay.
Makes sense.
So just like a human being, and a vine is a living thing, and the proper nutrition is a key to
It's
the
very-
health, to the way it to the amount of the fruit you will produce, and basically everything.
So you're absolutely right. What we do this month in January and February to the vines, to the ground and the soil will totally give us a better yield for next harvest. If we don't do anything, we are going to be lacking in some nutrients. Therefore, what comes to mind in a vineyard is that lush green, the canopy, those great, beautiful clusters.
What we saw in your vineyard this summer, it was beautiful. Yes.
You're just not going to have that beautiful vineyard.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you're not going to have that great of wine either.
Excellent.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And our whole premise here, this is our vineyard. My wife Sherry and I take care of it, and we wanted to make the best wine possible. We don't sell our wines; we drink them. Okay,
Okay, we're gonna make a perfect joke here. So, is this the way how you ensure you get the proper nutrition? You
Yes.
feed your vines well
Yes.
and make sure
I want to make sure.
you incorporate.
Yes.
One
Absolutely.
way to
Yeah.
eat healthy.
Yeah. And just to make it clear here, so we're acting as a farmer right now, and Sherry and I do everything from the winemaking process, the farming, and everything in between.
right.
Right. So let's look real quickly at the anatomy so we can talk about this and nobody gets lost. So this is our trunk coming out of the ground. The root ball is underneath there. This is netting. The black is water, irrigation, and all of our vines are single arm. They go one way. There's a reason. In a human, whether you're left or right-handed, most of that energy goes that way. So we wanted all the energy to go one way. This part is the trunk, this part is the cordon. These are the canes, also known as shoots. As these shoots come up during the growing season, that's where the grapes come from. That's the anatomy of the vine. Really all you need to know. Very crucial for next year's harvest is how we prune this vine. So come January, we're going to cut here all the way. So all of this will be cut down. We won't cut the bottom part until we know there's not going to be another frost. We don't want the vine to be damaged by a frost. Each one of these little knobs right here is a bud, and what comes of those are the grape clusters. So
Okay.
It's very, very important.
Important. Again, forgive me for recapping because I know what some of you have been asking, and I know what you have seen this far on our YouTube channel. So what we did, we initially just did the low cutting. What Jay is referring here to is the two different kinds of cutting. Initial top cutting, just to kind of get rid of the overgrowth, and then waiting for the right timing to do the actual pruning itself.
Correct.
And that is done once you think the
There's no more
winter, the
frost.
freeze frost
Right.
is, you know.
It's easier
there's
for
no
us since
chance.
there's just the two of us.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
and there's 550 vines here, four
Okay.
varietals.
Okay.
The other thing about pruning is very important. We wanted a hand between each of these canes
hand, so
or
that's-
shoots. And the reason for that, this way, this way, this way, is we didn't want the grape clusters to be too close. We wanted enough wind to get around them. We wanted the sunlight to get around them, and that prevents mildew and mold.
Okay. So
Okay.
about 5 to 6 inches.
About a hand.
About the hand.
About a hand.
Oh, very good.
Okay. And then we have a trunk with a cordon that's about 4 feet. 4 feet is going to give us about 8 to 12 pounds of grape.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't want to mass produce because we wanted quality grape.
Very
Okay.
good. Very
All right.
good. Okay, so you spoke a little bit about the certain nutrients that we need to add to the roots during this period of time. Let's
Yeah.
talk more about that.
Let's talk more about that. So there's a couple different ways that you can add nutrients. You could put it through your drip system and add them right where the drippers come down to the trunk. Or in our case, what we do is after the soil analysis, we see what we need. We buy it in pellet form and put it in a grand old spreader and run up and down. So when we put the nutrients back into our vineyard, we put it in all of the soil all the
Around
way
it.
around
Okay.
because we want our roots to grow out and down.
Very good. Okay, that's something very valuable to me as well because
Yeah.
my vines are not nearly as healthy as Dr. Fern's. So I'm learning. Okay. Okay. So one thing that I learned is that you continue to water. In
Yes,
our
yes.
region, continue to water. About
Yeah,
1/3.
Here we are in November and it's 78 degrees.
Yes. Okay. And prepare for the initial pruning, higher pruning.
It's easiest for us to take the higher pruning off and get rid of it, and then wait until we don't have a frost to get the lower pruning where we want it.
Very good. Now, getting the nutrients for the vines, ordering online or going to local
the agricultural store.
Agricultural
Yeah,
store.
and we don't put the nutrient out until we know the weather is going to rain.
Okay.
We put it out right before the rain.
Very good. And can you blend them? Is there
Yeah,
a certain pattern of how you need to add this and wait to add this?
No,
or
you can blend them.
You can blend them.
Yep.
But again, to find out what kind of nutrient you need, you really have to do soil analysis.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, so we're 2/3 of an acre here, and we dig up. We take a post hole digger and we go 2.5 feet down, and we mix all that dirt. We do 12 different areas. We mix all that dirt up, put it in a 5-gallon bucket, and haul it off to the agricultural store, which then sends it off to do a soil analysis and a micro and a macro nutrient analysis as well. And then we know how much to amend.
As you can tell, I brought you to a professional. He knows what he's doing. He's particular, and obviously he does this right. Now, there are a lot of people out there who are growing one single wine. And I get a lot of questions from our viewers. Vlada, what should I do? You know, what kind of food should I give to? If you have people who are just beginners, you know, what are some of the key nutrients that they should do regardless if they do analysis or not? What's very important?
Well, the macros, that's going to be the nitrogen, the phosphorus, you got the potassium and the magnesium, and some sulfur. Those are the key big macronutrients. The micronutrients are going to be the iron, the zinc, the molybdenum, the borton, things like that. But you really, for those, I showed you on this what it would look like if you had a zinc deficiency or an iron deficiency and a potassium deficiency, but that's a macro. So you really have to rely on your soil analysis to get it right through the vineyard, to feed the roots. Ultimately, you're going to feed the trunk, the cordon, and the new shoots that come up, which are then going to feed the leaves, which then you're going to have the right kind of grape clusters. And that nutrient analysis and the soil analysis, it's regardless of the type of varietal you have planted. We have 4 planted varietals here.
It's obviously, like anything that you do in life, there is a way to improve it, and there's a more sophisticated way to take care of your vines. I'm a beginner, and as I said, my vineyard does not look anything like this, and every time I take a walk by this vineyard, it's so lush, it's so green, it has almost the deep blue color, and that's something that my mom used to refer to the beautiful fields. It's blue. When it's blue, that means it's so healthy. So you tend to your vineyards organically. How hard and how expensive is it to go organic?
It is not expensive to go organic by any means. We use a lot of oils that are organic when we sprayed for mildew and mold. But then again, I told you too, the spreading of the shoots here is such that we get good wind flow and good sunlight flow through there, so we don't create mold and mildew. But we do spray them. We have a backpack sprayer, we put it on and we spray. It doesn't take much. Use a little respirator. It's not expensive. But probably, you know, if I had to think of anything that's most expensive about doing the farming part, it would be the water.
The water.
That's why it's important, as we talked about earlier, to have an aerometer, okay, in the ground. And we have 2 of these. We put them strategically through the vineyard, and always kind of watching.
Okay, so you don't want to overwater. What happens if you overwater?
If you overwater, you're going to have bigger clusters that have a lot of juice that's not concentrated, and you're going to have a lighter colored wine.
Okay, and not as sweet.
It's correct.
Okay.
And then if you underwater, you may not get all the ripening that you need.
Okay. Yeah. So the grapes will start drying before they become ripe.
Right.
Okay, very good. I mean, this is all such a great information, and all together with all of you, I too am learning. And this is a wonderful hobby, if I can say. It's a hobby.
It's a hobby.
It's hobby. So since we are on that subject of hobby, can you tell our viewers what do you get back out of this beside a good wine?
Actually, just the pleasure of being in the vineyard. So my wife Sherry is right up over here, and she works full time as a teacher. As you know, I'm a physician to work full time. The beauty about this is that we can come home at the end of the day, we can have our glass of Chardonnay, we can walk the rows. There are 26 rows, 550 vines, 540 actually. And that relaxation, that pleasure, it's a garden.
It's a garden, yes.
But
yes.
It's a big garden.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that is our pleasure, that's a hobby of ours. And the fact that we harvest and get so much grape, quality grape, and we turn that into wine that tastes amazing, we both look at each other and go, job well done.
So through all the things that we do through our charity and through your YouTube channel here, we try to encourage more individuals, more families to reach out back to soil, to nature, and to spend more time in nature for the sake of just feeling better and staying connected to earth. So obviously this works for you.
It works for me. I get my vitamin D too.
Vitamin D, and you know, this is obviously coming from a professional, and it's a doctor's order. Everybody should get back to nature, back to gardening and growing something. We will have to snatch Sherry for a few minutes, because not just that they do gardening, Sherry also has the chickens, and she does all these organic orchard, and she does a little gardening, and they're really representing this new wave and new trend of in American culture, which is going back home to soil, to dirt, to working in the sun, and most importantly is to reaching to neighbors.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just witnessed what a wonderful event Harvest was.
Right.
And so let's talk a little bit about the neighbors and the connecting with your friends, staying involved in your community.
So that is right. So I said a couple times that Sherry and I, we do all of this and everything in between until the wine goes in the glass. We do all of that. But we have friends and neighbors right here that need help, like we need help when it's harvest. So on the day that you came, I think we had 18 people here helping us, and all we did was come help and say, we'll make you breakfast. Unlimited mimosas, and we've done the same for them. Mm-hmm. And so yes, there's a lot of neighborly love, there's a lot of help from the neighbors, there's a lot of mentorship going on, and so yes,
it's good for us on so many different levels.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
All right. Yeah. Let's see if Sherry will join us. Sherry, can we see you for a moment? I think
while Sherry's coming down, we have one more thing that's very important in the fall and in the winter months. And although we don't have birds eating the grapes, because there's no more grapes, we don't have squirrels and deer eating the leaves and the grapes. What we do have is our gophers, that it's easier to make tunnels when the ground is softer and it rains. And so we have gopher issues. So what we have right here, we have the talons of the owl. So we have owls that help us. We have little traps that help us. Our vineyard dogs are up at the house right now. That helps us. What you don't want is to be using any kind of poison or pellets in the holes. You don't want to hurt the owls. So the talons footprints were right there. Yeah. I mean, he flew down here, he or she waited for that owl, but didn't get that owl. Because that owl, that gopher filled up the hole.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I have to get in there and get it.
Okay. So not just that you're good for your neighborhood, you're also good for the nature around it.
Yes.
Very good. And here's Sherry.
This is my wife, Sherry.
Yeah. Okay, so Sherry, I was just talking a little bit about neighborhood and gathering and going back to this lifestyle. And what kind of message would you like to share with people who watch our channel and with public in general?
Well, I just think it's great, the feeling that when you go, you know what, what do you want for dinner? And then you just go out to your garden, you can pick a butternut squash, or you can pick some tomatoes, you can make a sauce. You have just the ability to not have to rely on what the store has or what they've done to the stuff that they have. And we know exactly what's in our garden. We know it's all organic and it's fresh and it tastes so much better than the stuff you get at most of the stores, because it's been picked early and it's not had a chance to ripen. We just go out there and grab it and make something out of it. So I think everybody who can have enough space for even just this, whatever size garden you can do, a box garden, and just start making stuff, it's such a good feeling.
Yes, it's rewarding, isn't it? But it's also a lot of work.
Yeah.
So let's not
It is.
let's not lie to you, because this definitely is a lot of work. But it's a good kind of work. It distresses you and it relaxes you in some sense and brings you into the nature. So how much of the work does this require? I mean, if somebody's watching right now and said, you know what, I would love to have 500 wines. So throughout the year, how much of your hard labor is invested in this?
You need help. You know, you really do. But doing it by ourselves is a lot, and so sometimes we hire a little extra help to help us when we have the things that have to be done right away. Like if you have to go and cut them all, it's just doing one section at a time takes days, and we both work, so we don't necessarily have that. So that's part of it, and that's usually in the spring. So you're pretty busy in the spring, and you're pretty busy in the harvest time, which starts at around August. But like this time of year is relaxing and rewarding because you don't have as much to do.
Very good, very good. Okay, and the last footage we have is the footage with you putting the yeast in the crushed grapes.
Yeah.
So where are those grapes now?
They've been pressed in their wine in brand new oak barrels. Yeah. So what we did when you were here on that last harvest, we took our Grenache, mixed it with some Syrah and some Mourvedre, and this barrel is a GSM, Grenache Syrah Mourvedre. Then we had more Sangiovese than we knew what to do with. These two barrels, the barrel is 60 gallons or 300 bottles. So we have two of those. So we took this, the extra Sangiovese, and we made a super Tuscan out of that. So we have Sangiovese, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Petit Verdot, and another brand new French oak barrel right here. And then our Grenache field gave us so much Grenache that we were able to get a whole barrel of just Grenache. That'll be for our hors d'oeuvres and our fish and our light chicken meals.
All right, so for all of those who have not started making wine yet, please explain to us. We saw you crushing the grapes. We saw you putting the yeast in it. You have drain it, or you have just taken the juice out of that, right?
We press it.
Squeeze it. Okay. And now, in this stage, what's happening to the wine?
So the boards behind you right here are all the numbers of all the chemistry, which is organic in this particular wine room. So everything we do is up on the board. And right now we're going to babysit 7 of these barrels. There's 10 in here. We're going to babysit 7 of these barrels for the next 18, 22 months while the wine matures.
Very good. Well, I can't say enough. This is about people like Sherry and Jay, because everything that I'm trying to convey to you is that this is possible in today's modern society, and people can be professionals and have jobs and still hold to this kind of lifestyle. Because I come from a region where people did exactly that. They went to city to work, they did their thing, and they will come back to the country houses where they have the chickens, the gardens, they have people, growing healthy food for them. So it's possible, and it's a lots of fun.
Syrah, 100% Syrah. That it's a 2019, and of course it's you can see the color. A lot of work went into this.
So rich.
It's rich in color.
Okay.
The nose on it is.
Let's see.
You can see. I'll get the ink right away there.
Oh my goodness.
You can see the color of that. All right. So to all that hard work, it's a pleasure. At the very end of it all, here we go. Cheers.
Cheers to you and your hard work, and for keeping such a tradition alive.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you so much for watching and for spending time with us. My name is Vlada, and I am a founder of a charitable organization called Vlada's Seeds of Life, whose mission is to help reconnect families and communities. One of our major projects is a production of a quality and positive family media, which is currently distributed to over 270 public access television stations in over 40 states. In addition, charity also addresses needs of a former foster youth, single struggling moms, and cancer patients. In coming 2022, Vlada Seeds of Life will distribute over $200,000 worth of free fruit and vegetable seeds to communities in Southern California. To find out more and to get involved, please visit vladav.com.